Misu-chan here. So this story time is about my experience with a toxic friend. And the topic of toxic relationships has been like popping up in my recommendations a lot. So I thought I would talk about my experience because it just takes me back to how I was in a toxic friendship. So I just want to start out and say that I am a very loyal friend who really hates having to cut people out of my life. But at the end of the day, I realize this is the first time that I've done it. And so I realized that it's just something that has to be done to better your own self. And you just really can't carry around that type of baggage with a person who's just constantly wanting to try and bring you down or doesn't think that you're as genuine as a friend as they want you to be. Like, you're putting all your effort and they're hardly putting in any. But anyway, so this is about a friend that I had in college, and we're going to call him Luigi because he is a Super Mario fan and he always resonated with the character Luigi. I was first introduced to Luigi in my first semester of college after I was invited to join an anime club that was starting up. Soon enough, Luigi and I started hanging out. We were playing video games together, watching anime, and we were going out and buying figurines and books from a store that was near our campus. And so we would walk over there, but then over time when Luigi ended up getting a car, we'd just drive over there and get food. It was honestly really fun, just hanging out with all of our group. But over time, Luigi began to show behaviors that started to throw me off. So the first thing is that he would call and text me constantly wanting to hang out, and that wasn't bad at all. If I felt like hanging out, yeah, I hung out. But if I didn't feel like hanging out, he would call me lazy. And at first, I just saw it as a joke. It was kind of an inside joke between us and everything. But over time, the more he said it, the more I noticed his tone of voice would change whenever he said it, and it kind of sounded like he was criticizing me for not wanting to hang out. And as a side note, I am an introvert. I like to keep to myself most of the time, but I'll still go out and hang out with my friends and family, and I love going out. There are some times where I will go out by myself and just window shop at the mall or whatever, just to, there would be times where I want to get out of the house and just be out. But most of the time, I enjoy being by myself, doing my own thing in my own space. I mean, who doesn't? We all do that. But he just saw it kind of weird that I did that, and it was just weird. Second of all, so Luigi has issues with depression, and so there'd be times where he would self-harm, and there'd be times where his thoughts would go, let's just say, beyond that. And so he would call me just to either talk, or again, if it was really serious, he'd want to hang out. And again, I would be concerned, so I hung out with him. This wasn't an issue for me until he started going into details about how he would how he would kill himself. And he would say things like how no one would miss him if he decided to get rid of his phone and basically erase his entire existence from all forms of social media and decided to live on the street and become a hermit or whatever. Now, whenever he said things like that, I would try to just encourage him and just say, that's not true, we would miss you, we really would. You're a good friend of ours, you're important, and we don't want anything to happen to you, and that's why we're here if you ever need to talk to us. If I said anything, any words of encouragement, anything like that, he would say that I was lying or I didn't mean what I said. And he would do this every single time I tried to uplift him, or basically I'm going out of my way to try and cheer you up, and you're going to sit there and tell me all the time that I am not being sincere or genuine. It got to the point where I told him just to stop saying morbid things around me because it was unsettling and uncomfortable, and I didn't know what to say to cheer him up. Because at that time, I honestly didn't know how to handle. I didn't know how to talk to a person who was openly depressed. Because I have friends I have other friends who just talk about their issues over social media, and I don't know that they're going through something unless I see it on a post or something, and I'll like type out something or just send a little heart emoji, and that uplifts them. But it didn't do anything for Luigi, and it really got on my nerves. And I really didn't want to think this, but every time that it made the actions and the words that he spoke to me whenever I tried to be a genuine concerned friend of his, and he would reject it, it made me think that he was using his depression to basically get me to hang out. Did he do this every time? No, I don't really believe that he would use it. He used it as a tool to do it constantly. I'm just saying there were times where I kind of felt like he may have decided to use that to his advantage to get me to feel bad enough for him to hang out. Now, cut to a few years later, after we all leave college, me and Luigi end up catching up again, and I find out that he had gotten an apartment with our other friend, who I'm going to call Mario. At this point, Luigi's attitude, I noticed, started to get worse, especially after he got a job at Amazon, which I get it. I have friends who say that Amazon's work environment is not really the best, so he got a pass for that, and his work hours kind of stressed him out to the max. So that was 100% understandable. A few months later, though, Mario had moved out because of some money issues he and Luigi had with each other, and so basically Luigi had the apartment to himself. So, but to clarify, it was a 1-bed, 1-bath apartment. So how the situation was, Mario basically was in the living room and had his stuff set up, and he slept on one of those couches that turns into a bed. He slept on one of those, had his own TV and everything, and then obviously Luigi had the actual bedroom. So that's how their situation was. And so he's living in this apartment by himself, and over time, of course, his lease starts to run out. It's about to end. He comes up with the idea of me and him getting a 2-bedroom apartment and becoming roommates. And at this time, I was still living with my mom, and I was open to the idea because I was already looking at apartments that I wanted to move into that was within a budget that I could work around. And so, again, I was up for it. So we started to look around, and we did find a place, and we were thinking about filling out the paperwork. The guy had already emailed it to us, and we were just gonna, end up filling it out. But I ended up backing out of the idea. At first, my reason was because I was gonna bring my dog, and I didn't want my dog to get in the way when it came to having any type of accidents or her going off in the middle of the night and barking say 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But really thinking about it, at this time, my honest thoughts were that our personalities would clash if we were with each other all the time. So when I brought this up to him, he almost cut me off completely because he saw it as a betrayal, which it wasn't, since the paperwork hadn't been filled out yet, and it's not like we had already turned it in. So in the end, Luigi and his mom ended up getting an apartment in the same place that we were thinking about going to. And it was because of another friend of ours that we talked everything out, and basically our friendship had remained. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say that I regret us rekindling our friendship, because I kind of at that time did feel bad, and I really didn't want us to end the way it was going to. So I was kind of happy that we were able to talk things out, and the subject basically was never brought up again, which I was happy about. But there was always one thing that really pissed me off whenever I'd be hanging out with Luigi. That really pissed me off. So he would criticize me about how, in his eyes, I was privileged and spoiled by my family, and life seemed to go so good for me compared to his. I'm sorry, what? I admit that I was spoiled as a child, because I am the only child between my two parents, and on my mom's side, I was the baby of the family, so I was spoiled a lot growing up, not spoiled rotten. Like, I still obviously was set with like rules and boundaries as like as any child should, but I wasn't like super spoiled. Like, we're not rich in any way, shape, or form. Like, I make my own money, and like my parents don't give me like an overly excessive amount of money to like just go spending. But like, he would like, but the fact that he said that, and I'm just sitting here like, why is that a bad thing? The reason in his mind that he thought it was okay for it to say that, or like call me spoiled and privileged, was because according to him, his like life has basically been screwing with him since the moment that he was born, apparently. And like, I will say he has had a bad past, and I feel bad for what he's gone through, and I understand that it's hard for people to live a normal life with certain traumas, but there are people who at least try to live a normal life and not let things of the past get the better of them, or like in the way of their successes and what they want to do with their life. Like, Luigi complained all the time about going through a depression and all of that, but he refused. We brought up like, why don't you talk to a therapist, like go to therapy sessions, or why don't you have you considered antidepressants? He rejected all of those ideas, especially the antidepressants, because he was into art and gaming, and he wanted to at one point make his own like game, and he had the idea of antidepressants curves one's creativity, which I have no basis on that, so I don't know if that's true, but that was his reasoning, and that was his way of thinking. He also had a tendency of saying that he wished he had a lot of money, because money would solve all of his problems. And like, basically when I say problems, I mean he would have enough money. He wanted enough money to not only help pay his bills, but also have spending money to do with whatever he wanted, whether it was buying figurines, a nice high-tech gaming computer and all of that. Just he basically wanted that type of luxury, like not having to worry about being financially unstable. And there'd be times where he would mock me for having more spending money than him. Because there was a time, I remember this very clearly, it was me, him, and another friend of ours, and we were at the mall, and we were all starving, and we were trying to think of where we wanted to get food. Luigi's comment to me was, "I bet you've never gone hungry a day in your privileged life." Who says that? Like, genuinely, who says that? And you know what the messed up thing is? The way he said it, again, it was his tone of voice, made it seem like he was bragging, because he had mentioned that there was a time where he didn't eat for an entire day or something like that. And it's like, why would you gloat about something like that and say it like you're proud of it? I just not eat, like, why? It does suck for someone who can't eat every single day, and having to go 1 or 2 days without eating. That, I can't even imagine that type of pain, and it sucks to go through. But I don't think that anyone would try to like proclaim that as a badge of honor or something. That would just be more of a like traumatic hard experience or something. Him saying that just really pissed me off beyond all reasoning. And at this point, things went from 0 to radioactive, like, in no time at all. So remember earlier when I mentioned that Luigi would use his depression to get a reaction out of me and then reject me trying to uplift him? Ooh, it got worse whenever the topic of girlfriends and dating came up, because he would say things like, "I'm ugly, no girl will ever want to date me." And if I didn't respond within 10 to 15 seconds of him saying that, he would say, "You're not responding, so you must agree with me." And again, he would say it every single time he brought it up, as if it was bait for him. It was bait to lure me in to try and say something or get a reaction out of me. It got to the point where I said, why would I say anything if you're going to act like I'm lying to you? That shut him down, and he did not ever try to use that again. And if he did, he knew I wasn't bluffing. He knew that I wasn't going to say anything. And so he would, and over time, he did stop baiting me with that. But him doing that really made me mad. Now, this is the last straw. This was the last straw of our friendship. Okay. So, I ended up finally getting a full-time 9 to 5:30 job. And he would call me in the middle of my shift, 5 or 15 times, and he would text me even more than that. It would be around maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, or even close to 5. And he would text me wondering where I am. I'm not responding. He would call me. I would have 5 or 6 missed calls. All would be from him. Even after telling him my set schedule. I told him the first time he did it. I was like, look, this is my schedule. I work from this time to this time. Breaks and lunches are kind of iffy, just depending on if we have enough people to cover. But if I don't respond to you, don't sit there and message or call me 300 different times. I'm still working. You know my shift. But he would still do it. He would still blow up my phone. And then get this, he would get mad if I didn't pick up. I was like, dude, we're not dating, so I am not obliged to pick up the phone every time you call. And even if we were, I still wouldn't be obliged to pick up the phone. I'm doing something. I'm in the middle of my shift where I cannot use my phone. I can't. Whew. Anyway, 2 years later, I finally end up getting my own apartment. And I mentioned on Facebook that I wanted to invite some friends over for a housewarming / Halloween party, because I moved in just before Halloween, and I kind of wanted to finally have my own little just get together. Now, I'm in a studio apartment, so it's kind of small, so I could only have, with me, counting me, 4 people. So I would only be able to invite 3 people. There were only 2 friends that ended up that were able to come, and these were 2 friends that I haven't seen since college, and at the time of this, they were expecting their first child, and I wanted to catch up with them because I haven't seen them in a while, and they were one of the first ones to reach out, and they're like, yeah, sure, we can hang out. It's like, yay! So 2 days after that, I'm driving home from work, and my phone is buzzing to the side of me, and who could it be but Luigi? I didn't answer. Again, I was driving. And when I got home, there was a Skype message from him that said, I'm not your friend anymore. Not that you care. Bye. Nope. I was done. I wasn't going to talk anything out. I wasn't going to give him that. I simply replied, I'm sorry you feel that way. Don't ever say I don't care. Have a nice life. And then I sent the message. I deleted him from Skype. And I found out that he deleted me from all other social media, which is why Skype was the only way for him to message me. But I found out later on that the reason that Luigi had unfriended me was because I didn't invite him to my small party. And as I said, it's a small studio apartment. And also, I really was hesitant to introduce him to another friend group of mine, because I've done it before, and I've had some of my friends say that he kind of gives off a negative vibe, and he basically has no filter, because he would open up about his depression, show off his cuts, where he cut himself. And he did that to a friend of mine once, and I was sitting there mortified. Absolutely mortified. But at the end of the day, I was done. It was an emotional roller coaster, and there were times where I had the opportunity to escape that relationship. But again, a loyal friend, I didn't want to. I always believed that that people could talk things out and everything would be fine. Nope, it wasn't this. And also, I am not going to put my time and effort in trying to help someone if they are not going to receive any of it and if they're going to refuse to help themselves. And that lesson I credit to Dr. Phil. You're wonderful. Thank you for that lesson. But that is the end of the story time and this chapter in my life. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry again if I kind of rambled and went off, but this one was kind of a triggering one. It was just a bad experience. But again, thank you so much for watching, and just remember, you matter, you're important, and you can get through anything with the right resources and the right help, and just the right people to talk to. Thanks again, and remember to stay weird and awesome.